Great. Okay. So once again, welcome everyone to Uncovering Your Spiritual Gifts with Ayahuasca. My name is Meesh. I'm a psychic medium, and my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul sister Mozelle from Healing Muse is joining us today to talk about ayahuasca. She's going to share what is ayahuasca for those who are unfamiliar with the sacred plant medicine, her personal journey with ayahuasca, which is very extensive, what it means to work with ayahuasca. And she can talk about her experience living in many different parts of the world to be able to connect with different tribesmen. And then, ayahuasca centers, retreat centers around the world, and the resources that you need, as well as questions and answers. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Mozelle to tell us, firstly, what is ayahuasca?
Fantastic. All right. So ayahuasca is a vine that grows in the jungle. And this beautiful vine, something like 3,500 years ago, there was shamans that were gifted the knowledge that if they cooked down the vine with the wambisa or chacruna leaves, you have to have the combination of the two, that by creating the two, then the DMT can pass through the blood-brain barrier and you can actually go through a ceremony space with it. Otherwise, you would just digest it and you wouldn't have an experience. So way, way, way back when, how crazy is that? That it's like out of all the millions of plants and trees and things and medicines that are in the jungle, those two that are combined. One other very interesting thing to note is you can have just the ayahuasca vine by herself without having the chacruna or the wambisa leaves in there. And when that's cooked down and made into a syrup, sometimes they're sold in capsules. It is really good for antidepressant. I had a beautiful personal experience with that where life was going a million miles an hour and I closed my business and I sold everything and moved in with a man with his two beautiful daughters, and I hit the wall and I was super depressed. My phone was no longer ringing. I no longer had my business. I no longer had all my things, and I exploded. And in 1 week, I've just taken anywhere from a half teaspoon to 1 teaspoon a day of just the vine herself. And there's no visions, no ceremony with it. You, of course, honor and respect it. And the depression's gone. I was able to center and focus and ground. But the beauty of Mother Ayahuasca, oh, wow. So a little bit more about ayahuasca. Some people are lucky and they can be in ceremony space within 5 minutes. Some people, it can take upwards of an hour, hour and a half. It really depends on the individual and a lot of different reasons why that is. And it can last for 4 to 7 hours for a majority of people. And it can last upwards of like 9, 10 hours for other people, just depending on sensitivity. But Mother Ayahuasca is a beautiful, powerful medicine woman who helps heal us emotionally, spiritually. There's even been miraculous physical healings, but I'm not going to quote myself on that. Like, you got to see your doctor, you still work Eastern and Western medicine, all the things, but why not have another helper on your team?
Absolutely. And ayahuasca is truly a sacred medicine, like Mozelle was explaining, used by tribesmen and, throughout South America and even across the world now. It's becoming a lot more popular. So Mozelle, since you've done so many journeys, when was your first experience and how did you find ayahuasca?
Oh my goodness. All right. Truth serum time right here. All right. Again, hey, we're all human. We go through like chapters in life that are just horrific, right? And I had a 10-year relationship and I moved to a completely different area, only half hour away from all of my friends, but like far enough away that people wouldn't really come. I needed my space and time to heal. And I found like a little place that I love to go and have my happy hour, chips and salsa and cheap margarita. And I was working 7 days a week and just working very hard. And there was this gal that was there and, we would strike up a conversation with the bartender. I kind of went for my little social time early and then back home. I'd just be there for like an hour or so. And she started talking about ayahuasca. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I don't want anything to do with that. Like alcohol's my thing. Like, oh goodness. And I had no experience with anything else. And anyway, she said that she was going to be going to this retreat and was really, really excited. And so I was happy for her. She's trying to get me to go on. No way, no way. And then it was just a little bit later, maybe like a week and a half later, she sends me like a 911 text, chips and salsa, meet me right away. So I went and met her and she was devastated. She had spent 2 days like so depressed, had fallen apart, like laying on her apartment floor because they canceled the retreat. And it was going to be just a 4-day retreat. But there was an emergency that popped up. So they had to cancel it, but they gave her a 10-day retreat instead of the 4-day retreat for the same price. And so after I had heard her complain for an hour and a half, she told me that at the very end. And I was like, wait, the universe knew you needed more healing. So what a blessing. Like, isn't this great? You got to go. And then she was like, oh, I didn't think about that. So here, it was very interesting seeing the psyche of how so caught up on this 4 days that she was supposed to go for the healing. And she just had to wait a little bit longer for like 10 days, but like it had completely devastated her, right? So there's a beautiful lesson in how we get wrapped around a certain thing really, really tightly. And we're not seeing the beauty of the other things out there. And then she's explaining more about the retreat. And then all of a sudden I just felt like a punch in my gut. And she was trying to get me to go again. I was like, no, I don't want to drink no things that's going to make me purge out one or both ends. Are you kidding me? I'm a lady. I want to smell like roses and be a princess the rest of my life. Okay, that's not real either. But I just had this like really strong gut feeling that if I didn't get her to this place, that she might not make it. And it was just this really weird, intuitive, like gut feeling. And then I said, well, I don't want to drink the medicine, but I'd be able to go and participate in the retreat, but not do ceremony. And she said, well, just message them, find out. So I messaged them and they offered me a scholarship price because I wasn't going to be drinking the medicine. And for the same dates, I had some dear friends that were going to the south of France. And all I had to do was pay for my airplane ticket, and all the expenses would be covered because they had some friends that had paid that bailed out. So here I'm faced with, I could go to the south of France and go on this vacation, or I could get this new friend to this retreat that she so desperately needed. And when the price came back for both the airfare and the retreat, they were within $3 of each other, like not even a cup of coffee. And I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do. That gut punch told me. And so, and it ends up that this young lady was very special needs, and she was in her early 40s, but more like a teenager. And it's really challenging because I ended up finding more that she has Tourette's and suffers from manic bipolar and a whole host of other things. And it was my first experience with that. And I get her to this retreat, and I think that I'm doing my duty, my thing, like get this lady that needs this healing to this retreat. And I'm participating in this first circle where we're going to drink a tea made out of just tree bark. So there's no hallucinogenic, there's nothing. And it's called a dieta or a sama in the Shipibo tradition. So we're in this circle of people, and I really don't know what I'm doing or what I'm getting myself into, quite frankly. And I was a little bit like, I don't know. I just kind of went back to like Sunday school. I'm sitting there in the circle holding my tea and have my intention. And my intention was to get rid of all of my gifts, all my psychic gifts, my empathic gifts, my intuitive gifts. I wanted nothing to do with any of them anymore. And at 40 years old, I sat in this room holding this beautiful cup in 2016. And I close my eyes and I drink this tea with my intention. and my eyes are closed. I'm being a good little girl, like prayer position, head down, eyes closed. And then I start feeling these tingles going across my back. And then I feel pressure on my back, like somebody's behind me, like leaning into my back. And so again, my eyes are closed. I kind of am like, what the heck is this? So I open up one eye. I'm like, okay, half the room accounted for. Close that eye, open the other eye, like the other half of the room accounted for. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to trust this. And so I just kept my eyes closed and I like leaned in and I pushed back so hard that I should have fallen over, but I was fully supported. And then I asked to please be shown what was happening. And it was the tree branch of the Ayahuasca opening up my back, and it was doing psychic surgery to take away all of my gifts. And then when I was done feeling that part, and there was so much that happened with that, I could see the stars and the universe on my back. And you gotta remember, this is a tea that's not a hallucinogenic, and I've never had a hallucinogenic in my life. Like I said, alcohol was my thing. And so I sit up, they're like closing the little ceremony thing, and I just had 2 tears fall down my cheeks. And I was like, where did I just arrive to? And then the next day I woke up and I couldn't feel anybody, and I couldn't hear anybody's thoughts or anybody's cravings or any of it. I was just like, I'm gonna bump into you, and I'm gonna bump into you, and then I'm gonna bump into you. And it was hilarious because I couldn't feel anything. And then when I shared with people the things that I felt about them prior to my gifts being taken away, they were all 100% accurate. But I'm like, yeah, now it's like I only hear my own voice and feel my own body. This is bizarre, right? And so then the shamans came to me and they said they'd never seen anybody react to drinking just the tea in that way. That they said, you should really reconsider doing an ayahuasca ceremony. And I was like, oh, but that's the thing that you drink, that you do the thing. And I'm not sure about that. And so I decided the next night, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm meeting all these really beautiful, wonderful people at this retreat. And I was like, if they can do it, and they're here to open for their healing, like, and I just had that experience, the tea, like, let me try this. And so I went into ceremony and I held back the purge, the vomiting. I would not let it come back up. It was a very powerful ceremony. It was very beautiful. And then the shamans were like, but Mozelle, a purge is just getting rid of what no longer serves you. It's called getting well. And in the Native American speak, there's not the thing of getting sick. It's called getting well. And so I learned a lot more about that. And I have Native American roots that were completely denied to me. And so I was like, all right. So on the second one, again, super powerful ceremony, like absolutely amazing. This retreat was like 10 years of healing in 2 weeks. But on that second ceremony at the end, the close of the ceremony, they light the candles, they bring out the fruit tray because they do a Mistros tradition. And I was like, I ran to the bathroom because I'm looking at this little bucket going, there's no way this little bucket's going to hold what's coming out of me. And I go to the bathroom and I open the door, and you guys, it was like The Exorcist. It was like straightforward, 4 feet up on the poor bathroom wall and slid down. I just was like, and now I've learned that those buckets can absolutely hold everything that you need. It's really not that much that comes out, but that one was a projectile one. And it was absolutely incredible. And then I woke up the next day saying, like, with tears in my eyes, like, oh my God, I thought I was doing something for somebody else to bring them here for their healing. And it ends up that it was 10 times more, that it was all for me. So that's how I found ayahuasca. That's how I got brought to it. And that was my first experience.
That's a very intense experience.
Pretty epic.
I think a lot of people can attest that every journey is different and you never know what to expect, because ultimately Aya is the one who decides, like many plant medicines. Yeah, I can attest. I heard about ayahuasca almost a year and a half before I attended a ceremony. I was with someone who had mentioned ayahuasca, and I had said, like, what is that? It sounds like a I don't know, it sounds funky. And then I went on Facebook groups, and it took me so long to find a center that I identified with, because a lot of the centers were very luxurious and very like catering and really fantastic food. And I was like, no, I want something rugged. I want to be in the jungle. I want to be where ayahuasca grows. So I found a center that aligned with my needs, had the ceremony, and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. I was in the jungle at nighttime. I was there for 2 weeks. I also did a dieta. I had 4 ceremonies, which I felt like that made the most sense for me, because if I'm flying to Peru, which I had never been to Peru before by that point, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be immersed in it. And I also wanted to work with people that were working directly with the Shipibo tribe. I know there's a lot of ayahuasca centers that will just have facilitators who maybe haven't worked with any tribesmen before. And those centers are reputable as well. There's nothing against that. For me, I wanted to work with the people that had been, like, their ancestors had been doing this. I wanted the authentic ayahuasca experience. So it was quite a journey. But yeah, so Mozelle, I know you touched on it a little bit. What does a ceremony, and I know once again, ceremonies are always very different, but generally, what does like the pre-ceremony prep looks like, the during ceremony activities, visions, whatever, once again, it's always different, and then post ayahuasca journey? And you can use maybe the one that you found was most in line with your personal your personal journey with ayahuasca that you believe with.
Yeah. So also to preface it, I've done ayahuasca in the US, in Costa Rica, and in Peru, in the jungles of Peru. And I've lived many months with the Shipibos. Like the time that I had met you, I was there for a total of 2 months in the jungle. And you were there my first 2, we were all together in that first 2 weeks. And that was like the best group ever to get me started off on that. Because then I ended up being in this hut and doing silence and no eye contact, and like going really, really, really deep dive again with the same Ayauma. But so I've been studied under like the Shipibo tradition, and there's many tribes. You've got Huni Queen, Yawanawa, Ashaninka. I mean, this is just like a tiny little section, because there's, I don't know, like there's one beautiful chart that's here in town in Pisac, and it shows photos of the faces of over 30 different tribes that all use plant medicine. So I'm just going to share what it is that I've done, because I've done Mistos and then Shipibo. And what Mistos is, it was the Catholics that had come in and had the influence in with the Shipibo. So the Mistos is just bringing religion in with it. And then the Shipibo is just full on their Mama Ayahuasca, Pachamama, Mother Earth. And so with the Mistos, they serve a fruit plate at the end of ceremony. With the Shipibos, you eat the next day. But I'm going to start with the prep. The prep is really important. Depending on the center that you go to, they'll ask you for either 1 or 2 weeks that you have no alcohol. For obvious reasons, that just numbs us, and you got to cleanse your system. No red meat, again, because it's harder on the digestive system, especially if you're in the jungle or somewhere else you're doing this, you're going to get cleaned out. So you don't want the medicine having to work on the food. You want the medicine to be able to go to those energetic components in other parts of your body, not just digestion. Pork is a no-no if you're going to follow doing lots of medicine. You just, like, I've not had pork now for 8 years. It's something that you don't eat, and go into more about that later. But you have no oil, no fat, no sugar. You lighten your salt load, or you cut the salt load out completely. And so you're just prepping your system to get in tune with all of the subtle energies. So even like caffeine is a drug. We get heightened, we talk louder, we talk faster, we move faster until we crash. But like if you don't have that, then you can really tune into these like finer, like subtle energy realms. And that's the space you want to be into as you go into retreats and ceremony space. And then again, like the no sugar, no oil, no fats. So everybody's going to have their different lists that they give you, but that's primarily what they call an ayahuasca diet. which does not mean a dieta, which is the translation of sama in the Shipibo tradition. And I'll talk about that in a second. But just the food diet, meaning what ayahuasca diet, meaning what you eat, the foods that you eat to prepare your body. And then when you go into retreat and you go into ceremony, your body is like cleaner and ready to receive these energies, and you're more ready to surrender into the process. In the Shipibo tradition in the jungle, it's like you hear these beautiful like little birds and bugs, and you go from dusk, and then like once it's fully dark outside, that's when they've lit all the candles, and then they open up the ceremony, and you'll have the shamans sitting up at the front, and typically they'll have like a mesa in front of them. Some of the jungle don't even have a mesa. You're just like sitting there in a circle with them, a small circle. And they use mapacho and agua florida, and mapacho is just a tobacco, so it's a ceremonial tobacco, and they'll cleanse you'll see them cleanse their own body. They'll blow in and they'll cleanse down the body, some of them cleanse under the arms, some of them go over the top of the arms, blowing the smoke, and then the smoke around their body. And mapacho tobacco is a master protector, a master teacher plant as well. And they'll also use agua florida to like cleanse things, and then they sing into the ayahuasca bottle, and then they're singing the icaros, and they've heard everybody's intentions, and they're blowing that energy into the medicine and asking Mama Ayahuasca to please help these people with the wounds of the heart, the wounds of the mind, the wounds of the body, and to bring everybody in their unification of like their original cellular blueprint of like a healthy, beautiful human being, you know? And so then each person in the circle will come up one at a time, and they'll be poured their ayahuasca, and then they hold it to their heart, or they hold in front of them, and they can say their intention on their inside voice, and then they drink their medicine and they go back to their mat. And each person around the circle takes their turn coming up. And then there's a period of silence. Some shamans, it'll be like 30 minutes to 45 minutes where there's just silence, but you're hearing the sounds of the jungle as the medicine is coming into the body. And however, if you've got a bunch of people that go in early, they'll just already start with like, here's one of the tools, it's called a chakapa from the jungle, and they'll just start with their chakapa, and then they'll start singing icaros, you know. And but typically it's about 30 to 45 minutes, because that's that sweet spot where most people are either already starting to feel it in their body, or it's like coming in. Visions don't open up for everybody, but there can be that clear knowing, and there can be the clear feeling in the body. And so it's just like the stories come through like a storyline. Other ones can come through like movie reels, and other ones still yet can be in abstract visions. It's really, really incredible, and so beautiful. But again, you know, I've found that ones in the States kind of last only 4 to 5 hours, where like a lot of my Shipibos, they'll just go all night till the last one's done. And one of our dear friends that we have in common is Papa Felipe, and he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just can sing Icaro. I don't know how that man's throat can like last so many ceremonies in a row, singing like, you know, 7 hours. But it's just amazing, so beautiful. So then at the close of ceremony, they invite everybody to sit up, because you want to honor and respect the medicine. And they'll just close the ceremony and sing like one last song, and then they light candles. Like I said, the mestizos, there'll be a fruit plate that's served, or there's, you know, nothing, and everybody just goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning. And then post retreat, it's really important to follow whatever retreat center you go to, like what their protocol is, the same as the duration before. Some people require 1 week, sometimes it's a month before, even if you're only doing a 1 week retreat. Some it's a week or a month after of following these restrictions, because you know, it's been said by some people that the medicine is like there's a gestation period, and some say it's like 9 months, like carrying a baby, like you're carrying this work that you've done. And the ceremony just opened everything up, and then every day that you're living after that is the ceremony. Your life is a ceremony. Your life is precious. Your life is beautiful. And being able to come into balance and harmony with all of the things that no longer trigger you, because Mama Ayahuasca came in with her helpers and helped you to not be triggered anymore. It's really, really amazing. But it's important to follow that before and after the retreat is just as important as the time that you were in the retreat or in ceremonies, and to honor that, to honor yourself, to respect your temple.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, yeah, the whole journey itself can take multiple days. I know with our ceremonies, each center is, like Mozelle had said, is very different. So it's deciding, what your intentions are for your ceremony. We even had a flower bath during our ceremony. Some of us did a plant dieta as well, along with ayahuasca. And yeah, like she's saying, everyone's journey is very different. My first journey, I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. I didn't know anything. I was just like, oh, well, this is it. Okay, cool. But it's the process of the body as well. It's not always the mind that's coming in to, give you all these pretty visions, or it can also heal the body. For me personally, I had a lot of problems, especially with my stomach. I held a lot of anxiety in my stomach. I was always in this flight mode. So I literally held, going to the bathroom for days at a time. And I thought that was normal, and that was just anxiety. But after ayahuasca, it felt like I had the cleanse of especially this space. And I do feel like that first ceremony played that role. And yeah, the post ceremony is so important because it's connecting with people. I know with our group, we still have a group chat that we occasionally chat with each other and see where everyone is in their journey. And yeah, each ceremony is so different. Did you want to add something, Mozelle?
Yeah, because like as you just brought that up, as like, because it was so long ago that like this one thing was healed, but it's actually a really big thing, because I had the same thing when I first started, and I had gastrointestinal problems. I had been sick for 10 years, the parasite infection. I had finally healed all of that. It was a nightmare, but I have a thing called gastroparesis, which makes I digest food 2.2 hours to what everybody else's 1 hour would be. And I could go 4 to 7 days without going to the bathroom. And hence my body was toxic, and I had 30 different food allergies. I had all of the food allergy tests and did the elimination diets and bringing things back in, just trying to get well. And then thanks to ayahuasca, you guys, I have 0 food allergies now. 0. And the whole thing about the bathroom being, like backed up on, the backside, it's like the colon in traditional Chinese medicine represents letting go. So if we're not going to the bathroom, what is it that we're holding on to? It's not just a bunch of feces, and so it's so much more. And just one of the things that I would like to add is that in this crazy, beautiful journey that I've been on, doing so many diets and medicine, to be able to serve ayahuasca, to be able to be there and serve Wachuma and be in the space, I also went and did a ton of certified studies. And one of them is studying TCM right now. Been studying it now since 2020. There's a lot to learn. I think I'll be a student the rest of my life. But in my personal belief and the view, there's a lot of things that can emotionally, like energetically, be out here, that start out here, and then they come in and they settle in the body as dis-ease. But the thing is, I've learned through plant medicine is like we can take that dis-ease and we can bring that dis-ease back to the energetic and release it out. And there's like so many incredible stories that I have. Like some of them I get afraid to share because I'm like, well, I can't, it's not me, I'm just a hollow bone, it's other people doing the work. But I've had 8 clients with stage 4 cancer, all go to cancer free. 2 of them still passed away. But the emotional work that they all did, man, gotta tell you, it brings tears to my eyes, like incredible. It's not saying that everybody that comes to medicine that has cancer is going to be cured. Like we can't say that, but their relationships, the awarenesses, the different things that the work that they did in their own self and their own life, and with their doctors, both Eastern and Western medicine and my ayahuasca, it's a whole combo, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue to the next
Yeah,
question, which is the
that's what I want
healing.
to add.
Yeah, the healing journey. I mean, we even had one of our facilitators in our ceremony. She actually had a cancerous tumor in her throat, I believe it was, and she worked
Yeah.
with ayahuasca and was able to release this tumor. So, I mean, on top of, these really, extremely difficult cases of physical ailments, other healing, whether it is psychological, mental, emotional, physical, the healing journey of ayahuasca. Um,
Oh man, this one is so my favorite. This is, there's some people that you'll go online and they'll be talking about, oh, I have this alien or this bug or this thing or whatever. And like my medicine is all about embodiment and coming back into your body and having a healthy body. And some a lot of the work that I've done, I feel like through different wounds and traumas in our life, there's parts of our soul that fracture to the outside of us. Or you can also look at it in the form of like our nervous system and the vagus nerve. Like we just don't feel safe in our own skin or our own body. And so we're disconnected, disjointed. And in my work with Mama Ayahuasca and some other beautiful shamans that I work with, it's all about healing those things and coming back home, back into this beautiful vessel, that your soul's taking a ride on this beautiful planet in, right? And but there's so many things that happen from the time that we're in the womb, and every breath that we've taken in our life and every step that we've taken, there's things that come along. And Mama Ayahuasca is miraculously able to go into our computer system of our body and go into these areas where there's these wounds that need healing, and go in and show you them from different angles and perspectives and clean them out to allow you to breathe again. Like the power of our breath and the power of our attention and power of our awareness. Those are all healing tools that Mama Ayahuasca teaches us about. And but I've seen tremendous things. I've seen people heal family dynamic relationships, heal relationships with self, with different so many people, different addictions, from food to pornography, working out, even shopping, avoidance, like social media, binge watch on movies so I can focus on something else and not be in my own space and in my own life and connecting with people because I'm afraid to connect, right? So Mother Ayahuasca can go in and these different relationships in our life that we have with ourselves, with things, with people, with places, with time, and actually like fully allow you to embrace those in a way that used to scare the hell out of you, or the things that you didn't want to look into. You learn to open your eyes and you lean in, because she's really there to help you heal. She's not there to hurt you. And some of the stuff can be really scary, really scary. But yeah, and I've seen just relationships, family dynamic relationships heal. People that hadn't talked in 20 years to different family members, able to talk to them or able to heal and forgive and move forward.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think everyone in our ceremony and many ceremonies who look to plant medicine for healing find it, when it's with the right people, the right setting, the right intention, the right preparation. I know with my personal journey, I knew it was time for ayahuasca when depression started taking over, and that's when I said, I don't want to do this anymore. If ayahuasca gives me another day, fine, I will give it another day, but I'm going to do this ayahuasca. And if it doesn't work, I'll be fine. And I went into my ceremony, and I still have it written down in my journal. As I said, ayahuasca, what am I doing here? What is my purpose for this human experience? I know it's not to work every day. I know it is not to just be somebody's girlfriend, boyfriend, sister, daughter. It's not an identity. Why am I here? And ayahuasca was first scraping everything out. The vision of having this crusted pus on my back and ayahuasca coming in and scraping me and digging out all of this infestation and infection that had just been sitting inside of me. And it was, I came out of the ceremonies like, okay, well, what's my purpose then? Like, I did all the purging. I did all the things you wanted me to do. What is my purpose? And I was so frustrated because I was like, oh, I thought I was going to see it in a vision and it was going to be so clear, and it wasn't clear. What did happen was a lot of healing first. And then it was about 3 months later that, as a psychic medium, I started getting these feelings again. And I opened up to somebody I trusted, that I was like, it feels like there's somebody in the room, but they're not there. And I can see them and they look like this and they look like this. And I didn't think anything of it. And then another 6 months later, my sister also, she has explored mediumship, and she told me she was a psychic medium. And there was this moment of like, this is what like, it took a while before I understood the purpose, and I racked my brain thinking like, there has to be something here. I know that there's some other purpose than working 40 hours a week. And for some people that is their purpose. But for me, I just knew there was something beyond this. So first it took the healing, the understanding, the scraping all that pus out and infection and disbelief, and not my trauma, but generational trauma, my mom's trauma, my grandmother's trauma, her mother's trauma, and leaving it in that beautiful bucket of purging. And yeah, it's a truly healing experience for anyone who is considering it. And it's not always the answer that you get right away. It takes a lot of integration, and healing takes as long as it needs to. And that's
as long as it needs.
As long as it needs. I mean, we have the human experience for, the age that we identify ourselves with for the number of years, but that's not even half of the trauma that you're suffering. You're suffering from trauma from generations behind you, and the experiences that you didn't even have, and if you believe in reincarnation, I personally do, you're also releasing trauma from your previous lives. And that is, I mean, ayahuasca is just a small snippet of, let me try pulling this healing out of you now, but everyone's intention is different. And for me personally, it was the healing, but the purpose-driven experience, and being able to step up and say, actually, I'm a psychic medium, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is my purpose. And if you believe in this, beautiful. I need to continue doing this for the people who need me. And then uncovering spiritual gifts just kind of fell into my lap, and it just keeps going. So yeah. And then Mozelle, I know you have a center. I know you have centers you would personally recommend. How can people find your center? How can people find other centers? What kind of resources can get them closer to connecting with ayahuasca?
So the thing is, I do have like a free little e-booklet, over 50 pages of information, and frequently asked questions. So things to ask different centers, questions to ask to find out the credibility and the safety and the efficacy of what it is that they're doing. Guru is a really beautiful place to find retreats. And I say you got to tap into your intuition and know what's right for you. And, they say it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will come. You will feel it. You will have that intuitive knowing, that beautiful sense. And so for mine, I do have a website that's called ahealingmuse.com. And I post the retreats. Like this year, I'm here in Peru for a total of 6 months. So I leave August 1st, but I'm doing retreats while I'm here. And I've done the larger group retreats, but right now I'm just focusing on private and couples. So no more than 2 guests. And I'm in a beautiful home located just outside of Peace in the Sacred Valley. And I really get to bring in all of my other teachings, even if they think it's not the But I'm happy to answer, questions. If people want to message me, WhatsApp is the best way. All my contact information is on my website, and be happy to help point in any directions, because there's a lot of beautiful people out there doing this work. And then there's also other places where it's like, you got to be careful of the people that went into the jungle and spent 2 or 3 months, and then they go home and they're serving ayahuasca. And the thing about ayahuasca is you really have to do a lot of your deep work before you're doing work to serve others. You got to really clean your own. And so I find it really important to remember that. For me, it was 5 years of deep personal work before I started serving. And I have a team of people. I've got a chef, I've got a psychotherapist, which I'm super in support of, like a whole team of people being able to be there. So it's like Zoom calls for that one. And then, based off of people, what they're working on, working with is what teachings that I pull forward. But yeah, so I'm just really grateful to be doing small groups. I also have next year, I'm going to be here for 8 months a year. So I'll be running retreats here in Peru for 8 months. Yeah, when I go back to the States, I'm just doing sound bowl cacao ceremonies because it's fully legal here in Peru, where they've gotten church status. And so there are places where it is okay. There are places where it's not okay. And as in a legality format, but that doesn't mean that that one is better than this one, if that makes sense. So, but there's a lot of there's over 50 pages in the ebooklet that I have. So, and it's for free. Anybody can have it. So, and there's also a link on my website for that.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Mozelle. Yeah. I please do your research. I had a close friend of mine who was in Tulum, Mexico, which is not my favorite spiritual center. It's more commercialized spirituality, but that's my personal opinion. And he went into his first ayahuasca ceremony with 40 individuals and 3 facilitators. And I said, what? Wait, you went through a journey with 40 people and 3 people. Were any of them like tribesmen? He's like, oh no, they were all Westerners. And I'm like, oh my God, please. I hope all 40 people went home safe, because when you are working with plant medicine, and this is not just ayahuasca, this is with San Pedro, this is with mushrooms, this is with any type of plant medicine, you are very open and emotionally, spiritually, and to be working with 40 people under the supervision of 3 individuals is terrifying. So I just leave it at that. Take your time with the center. I love that Mozelle has her book. I just dropped her WhatsApp website onto the chat there, but I want to open it up now for questions. I know, Pauline, you have a question, and so feel free. You can drop your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say it out loud. Totally up to you.
Yeah. What Mozelle, is it Mozelle?
Yeah.
She said you've been doing it for a good while now, and you was talking about that when you went in, that you asked for all that spiritual, what was in you to be taken away. But since you've been doing it, has that any of it come back? That
very
spiritual.
Good. Yeah. Very good question. So what happened was the Ayahuasca tree and Mother Ayahuasca said, all right, we're going to take these away, but you're still gifted. You're going to kind of, it's like, you're going to have to learn a new language. So what I learned was that my first language was the felt sense. My second language was English. And then all of a sudden I'm having to learn this like new language. I didn't know how to communicate with people anymore. But for 3 months, I was living in Seattle at the time. And every day in the morning, I would walk to Pike Place Market and I would bump into as many strangers as I could. And I'm like, can't feel you, can't feel you, can't feel you. And then I learned, like, I don't know how to communicate with people. So the medicine said that I can ask for my gifts back, but if I ask for them back, that understand taking on a role of service, and all of them will come back just as strong as they were, but continue to get stronger. And other ones that scared me, that I shut down when I was really young, those ones will come back online. And those ones really scared me a lot. So it was 3 months later, and this is like the craziest, beautiful story, but I'm like walking from downtown Seattle from my yoga, or go to my yoga studio, and I see a pigeon that had been hit by a car, and it was still on the road. And I was like, oh, so I grabbed my little yoga towel and I went and I picked up the bird, and then I moved the bird over to the base of a tree in a little shrub. And then as I looked up, because I could feel everybody looking, and there wasn't a lot of people, there was only 5 people spread out over a block and a half, but it was like this beautiful young couple over on the side, like looking at me, and they like bowed, put their hands in prayer position, and then somebody else grabbed their heart, somebody else was nodding, and then there was a car driving by and they smiled, and I was just like, you know what? Gifts are pretty dang amazing. Like, why did I want to let mine all go? And the truth is, I let all mine go because I had never been taught how to use them, and they overwhelmed me. And so in that moment with that bird at the base of the tree, I said, please, may I have my gifts back? And I understand that I'll be stepping into a role of service. And I mean, I closed my business. I've been like a total deep dive all into plant medicine. It's been like 7.5 years of complete, total dedication, devotion, service, all over, from the US to Peru to Bali to Costa Rica to Mexico. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm here to help.
I suppose one of the reasons I asked you that question is because when I did my first, it's my brother brought me into it because he's one of the helpers, and he helped me go through, because I was scared at first, and he said, just concentrate on the father, the mother of creation, and mom and dad, and that's what I went through with. And how I couldn't see the earth, and I couldn't see I couldn't see the earth, and I couldn't see space. But I saw a lot of people, and they was just happy, and my mom and dad was there because they had died, and they was there, and we was all happy and talking, and it was beautiful. And when I woke up, everybody was saying, what happened? What happened? You look like you were completely gone. Well, my brother at the time thought I had died. And the woman had took my pulse, and she said, no, she's all right. She's just on a higher level. She's on a high, like a Buddha who goes on a high level of, and everybody was just asking what happened, because your face showed something amazing. Now, I'm wondering, well, someone gave me a stone, and they said, a crystal, and they said, you'll always remember what happened. And I'm wondering if I've had certain gifts when I was young, and I've ignored them because I went abroad to a year and a half ago, and I was frightened to come back because of the COVID, and a bird came to the window, and it kept pecking 3 times and looking at me, pecking 3 times and looking at me. And then all of a sudden the fear just all melted away from me. And I just traveled within COVID, with no fear. So I just was wondering, if, like how you said, your gifts and that, we got gifts, and we just, because the fear of it, we bury it. And the ayahuasca, obviously, it helped you through. But me now, my second time, I was a bit frightened because I saw boxes, and I didn't want to deal with the 12 boxes. I opened 3, but I didn't open the others. I said, no, I'm not dealing with them. So obviously there's something going on there with me.
Yeah, it's one of those things, be gentle with yourself, because, just as we were saying earlier, like healing takes the time that it takes. I
Yes.
teach some people, some things are as easy as flipping on a light switch, and other things are like on a dimmer switch that
Or recordings cut, videos cut into it.
Yeah. Well,
That
oh,
was quite interesting though, because what she went through,
yeah.
and you kind of hold back, but it was great what she went through. It makes you now realize, now you want to embrace it. Now the next time I go, I will embrace it.
Exactly.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Just lost you at the light switch.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so like the light switch, so it's like some things are as easy as flicking it on or off, and some things are a dimmer switch. So even in your ceremony, you can turn up the light or you turn it down. You can turn up the process. And here's another beautiful to remember in ceremony. You are not just watching a movie. You are not a bystander in this. You are an active participant. If you do not understand something with Mother Ayahuasca, you ask her, you say, I do not understand this. Can you show me in another way? And it's amazing. The scene will switch and you'll be shown in another way.
Okay.
And so you take it's an active dialogue. It's you and your relationship with your higher self, with you and with the medicine. But I also want to touch base on the bird that tapped the 3 times. So
Yes.
Birds are incredible messengers. And when they come and they tap on the window, it is about you're supposed to get outside. It is that you're like, and they will stare at you and they will tap. They're like, do you not see that we're trying to get you out here? Like, you need to go out. So it's so beautiful that you flew during COVID and you didn't have the fear, that the fear had melted away.
Two
And there
times
was
I've
no
had the
reason.
experience.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. Really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Really,
Great.
yeah, really beautiful.
Good questions.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Ingrid, Fern, Toshar, any questions you would like to ask Mozelle? And there are no dumb questions because ayahuasca. Yeah. Great. Any more? That's okay.
About our psychotherapist.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure about this
Can I ask-
question, but you guys talk about a lot of concerns that I do have. I've been in Peru, and it's just I suffer from severe migraine, and the altitude really gave me like it made it worse. So every time that I think about going back to Peru, I think about migraine and taking medication. So, and I know that you guys were talking about cleanse your body and things like that. So and also I do have I guess some unknown problem in my stomach, and I can relate with what you both were saying. So that's another issue, because I assume that the cleanse treatment, that also we can take medication. And that is also my second question, talking about medication. What about patients, I'm sorry, but I'm so used to, but persons with taking medication, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, if you have any information about that.
Good question.
Yeah, very, very good question. Really, really important. So first, I'll touch base on antidepressants, SSRIs. Absolutely no. You cannot be on antidepressant and take ayahuasca, because the chances of death are near 100%. And so that's one to take really, really serious. Anxiety meds. I had one gal, she got off them for almost 2 months prior to the retreat. She came to my Peru retreat back in June last year, and she's still off of her anxiety meds. And she had been on meds for, I think, 4 years for her anxiety. There's in the e-booklet too, there's a section that's all about like contraindications of different medications and different things. So highly recommend jumping onto that e-booklet and taking a look there. It's something that you've got to be really, really, really careful about, like what's going in the system. The cleaner your system is, the better, because the medicine's going to go in and just really clean you out. Even like all your small and large intestines, your colon, you're going to get cleaned out. Like if there's problems down there, it's really going to work on it, because we hold so much of our emotions like from our stomach, like everything that we stomach in life, everything that we ingest, that we eat, and also everything emotionally that we ingest, we stomach, right? So there's a lot that goes in with the health of the body, and like what medications that you're on taking, not taking. As far as the headaches, one of the things here for Peru, a lot of people that I work with, I always have the electrolyte powder, and I'm having people replenish the electrolytes. If you're in the jungle, like it's like, I recommend people go ahead if they have that. It's like you use the lime, you use the salt, you use the water. You're not supposed to have salt in your dieta, but the health of an individual is more important to me. That's something that I also take very seriously, is the health and the care of the individual that I'm working with. Diabetes, very, very scary. They got to have doctor supervision. It's a scary one. I won't serve people with antidepressants or diabetes, or the anxiety. They have to be off the medications. What was the other part of the question? I'm missing out on. Like, I know that was not part.
It was the migraine, but I think you answered the question.
And actually, with migraines, I've had a lot of success in working with clients with migraines and doing different acupressure points and face massages while they're in the medicine to release the headache. Because again, there's an energetic component that settles physically, that can be taken physically and move out, right? So I've had good luck with that. I have had some clients with severe migraines and the medications, and so I have allowed an ibuprofen. A lot of places they won't allow it. It really depends on the individual and the center that you're going to. And as far as like the altitude, that is a thing. The hydration is really, really important. So I also say, like, no caffeine of coffee, but you could have green tea. So I don't know. There's, like, again, it's like, depending on what center you're going to get, it's the same as making a really good cup of coffee. All over the world, there's many places that make a great cup of coffee, but everybody believes they have the best way of making the coffee the best. It's the same with plant medicine. Every center is going to have their own subtle nuances, and the things that they allow and won't allow. So.
Yeah, to tag on to that, Ingrid, I know you mentioned, the inability or lack of desire to travel to Peru. There are quite a few centers, even in Mexico, which is much closer for you. I actually had a colleague who went to a center in Florida called Soul Quest. He had a really good experience. He had good facilitators, but once again, I would use the same resources that Mozelle had mentioned on her website, which is making sure that the center aligns with your personal values. So if you don't want to travel all the way to Peru, if you're okay with connecting with a center that is further away from the Amazon, just making sure that you ask questions. But I do know that there's a few centers in Mexico, there's a few centers in the United States, one being Soul Quest, which is in Florida, and there's another center in New Hampshire. I don't know if I could personally recommend it. I haven't been there, nor have I known anyone who has been there, but Soul Quest, I can say, I have a very close friend of mine who had his first ceremony in Florida, and he really appreciated the experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And we're on to questions. With people going off SSRIs, what have you seen, heard, recommended for that process?
That they work very closely with their doctor. And then, so for myself, when I'm working with clients that they're working on doing that process, I do regular check-ins with them to see how they're doing, to see how it's going, to offer some, a little few minutes here, a little few minutes there of the emotional support with it. And because I've got to tell you what, I've gone through a few bouts of depression myself, and on the medicine really it's worth it. It's worth the challenge it is to get off. And, you know, medications, there's so many different medications that disconnect us and we just get numb. We get numb. And when I was in my early 20s, when I was sick with that parasite infection, I was on antidepressants for 3 months and it was horrific for me. And I was so numb that I felt like I wasn't living. So although my experience with antidepressants is small in comparison to what a lot of my clients are going through, at least I have a little snippet of an understanding. But work closely with your doctor, work closely with a friend, you know, having the support of somebody that understands what you're going through, and then the chemical change that's going on in the body. It's really important.
Definitely. Yeah, it's
Very serious.
Yeah. Any other questions? These are really good questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead, you. Welcome.
And also the choice to do ayahuasca.
Oh, go ahead,
Oh.
Mozelle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, go ahead. There's a question. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. You.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm Eolam. My question was, is there any have you ever worked with helping people reduce inflammation in the body through plant medicine?
And what type of inflammation?
I'm not too knowledgeable on it. I myself I've been told that I deal with a lot of inflammation within my fascia.
Okay.
And that has caused pain throughout different regions of my body. And so, yeah, just don't want to take the get medicated all the time route. So trying different options.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, have you ever heard of a company called Human Garage?
Human Garage, I have not. I will.
Please check them out. You can find them on Instagram, TikTok, and there's a whole bunch of free videos when you sign up on their thing, and it's all about different fascia release techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a 3-day reset and a 28-day reset that are free. And I've been studying also with the fascia release, and I'll do fascia release movements on people in ceremony. So not everybody does like hands-on work. I'll do some hands-on work on clients. So, but the inflammation is coming from somewhere. And another really interesting tool that I like to use is Dr. Louise Hay.
Mm-hmm.
She's got there's a bunch of books. She's passed away now. She was in her 70s when she passed, but she has these books that it's called Patient Heal Thyself. And so you can look up, for instance, like sinus troubles, right? And you look it up and there'll be an affirmation, because sinuses that get clogged. So this is a tool that I use for myself because it works for me. But the sinuses are irritation with self or something around you or someone around you. So then you say an affirmation, I'm at peace with myself and all of those and everything around me.
Okay.
But it's just a really beautiful tool. So if you're having, if it's the sinuses, if it's, the tension from the shoulders, like carrying the weight of the world on, like it's going to affect all parts of the body, and inflammation just,
That's true.
like our incredible landscape of your body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Oh,
Yeah, so that can help with the physical part, but then you can go into ayahuasca and she may be able to show you, if you so choose to go down the path of plant medicine, to be able to show you where those irritations are coming from or where those pains. There's a lot of different releases for sexual traumas. There's releases for birth trauma. Even one of my clients, 73 years old, and his mom had committed suicide when he was 7. And so there was a big story around that. But then we got to do some of the things from releasing his own birth trauma, because he had like massive birth trauma when he was born. and being able to release that, and ayahuasca showing him what all of that was. And it was really powerful and beautiful. And he reconnected with his mom, and her spirit came, and they hugged, and just amazing. But he was holding this pain in his body from birth to like being 73, right?
Mm.
And he released it.
All right.
Great.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Does
great.
that answer your question?
Yeah, it has given me. It kind of also kind of reinforced things that I've known about too. Like I do myself. I do yoga, and I recently have started trying Qigong. Probably butchered that.
Qigong. Oh, I love it.
Qigong.
Yes, yes, yes.
And just learning more about kind of getting in tune with the motion of the body, the motion of the joints, and helping that flow is, it's very interesting to see how the body evolves from that. Because it's like
Yes.
a new beginning, kind of.
Oh, I love that. Qigong is amazing, in my
Yes.
opinion, my personal opinion. For my little pennies that's worth, like it's a really, really beautiful complement to living and healing and the
Mhm.
subtle energy realms of things. Really getting in tune with the subtle energies.
Great. Yeah, Paulina, do you have another question?
Yeah, yes. I did put something in the chat, and I was just thinking, oh, nobody felt offended by it, because when she mentioned that she was vomiting, and but and I remember my second time, I had a lot of stomach, and a lady mentioned her stomach as well, and I had a lot of stomach problems, digestion problems. So when I did it the second time, when I actually went in the toilet and I did a number 2, I started talking to it and telling it, "You're not gonna win."
Very excited.
That's right.
Ayahuasca cleansing. Woo! Post ayahuasca cleansing is a thing. It is a thing.
And
You know,
with the gentleman who was just talking about him doing that. Well, I did Kundalini after doing my first, and I found that the Kundalini helped me open up as well. And I went inside to my body and helped some of my pain in my body. It's like my pineal gland helped me go in, and I could see like the blood rushing and everything in my body. And I actually went to certain parts. And the yoga lady, when I come out of it, she said, well, people in the room said, "Oh gosh, you seem to be somewhere else." Where I felt like I was floating. I was actually, what do you call it, levitating while I was. So, once, I think what I should have done, because you pointed out something, and now I wish I had done it, I left my next experience, when I went back to the retreat, I left it about 1.5 years. And I think now, I can see now why I should have followed up, as you said, no more than 9 months, did you say?
oh no, I said
When you
when you
follow up.
ingest, they say that the medicine stays with you, like energetically, like your dreams. You don't have to drink again within 9 months. Some people, they
Oh,
can drink one time in their whole life. Some people will drink many
right.
times. So it's more of, sorry, I didn't clarify that. It's more of, so say you have one ceremony, that
Yeah.
following 9 months, that medicine energetically is around you. That medicine, Mama
Oh,
Ayahuasca is there. All of the things that you were shown and that you learned and that you unlearned and that you healed, like it's a very strong vibration around you of that medicine that you can tap into, that you can tap in your dream state. Even now you can say, "Mama Ayahuasca, I want to revisit that part of my ceremony. I would love to go into that in my dream space." And you can actually train yourself to be able to go back in to revisit part of your ceremony, because it's all been downloaded. It's all stored in that ceremony, stored in your body, just like everything else gets stored.
So I could, as you said, I could do that. I could revisit it and visualize everything that went on within the.
And then
that would,
also sometimes you won't remember certain things, and then 6 months after a ceremony, you'll be like, oh wait, I saw that in my ceremony. That can happen too. Or like, wait, I know this thing. Like, you know, there's also those moments that can happen as well. But yes, you can do ayahuasca recall in your dreams.
okay, thank you.
And sometimes it works right away, and sometimes it's just a process to learn to work in your dream state with it.
So would you say that doing, like the gentleman was just talking on another form of, is that another form of yoga?
So Qigong is
Yeah.
it's like a form of martial arts, but it's done really, really, really slow. It is so incredibly, it's beautiful, and it's actually easier. Well, there's different forms. The
Yes.
one that I do is for rock Qigong, and my teacher, I should put that somewhere on my site, but like he's from Australia. He lives in Bali with his wife, and they teach the Force Rock method, and it's really beautiful. Yeah. So the name of the Qigong is Forest Rock, and
Forest Rock.
yeah, Forrest. No, yeah, ROCK, Forest Rock Qigong, and he's also got a few classes on Udemy. Udemy.com. They, if any people are familiar with that, there's everything from business classes to all kinds of stuff, but he has a acupressure massage, like, so your little foot massages. So I always get people to go sign up for that. You can often get it sometimes for like $14 and sign up for that, and you can learn how to massage your own feet and massage friends, partners, family's feet as well. But he's the one that teaches the Forest Rock Qigong, because he's actually a TCM practitioner. So you learn a lot of TCM in the TCM in his Forest Rock training.
Okay.
And he does like the 5 elements, and it's just, but there's a lot of beautiful ones out there. You just got to see which one resonates with you.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. I love all of these different modalities that help us in our journey of embodiment and physical health and emotional health, you know, heart health, our mental well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question from you.
Yeah, and well, as you guys were discussing, I was just thinking about how doing my work of kind of helping make space within my body after just cleansing and just releasing things that need to be let go. And now I'm in like the process of refueling my body with kind of the things that will nourish me towards a new path of creating stability within my new life. And
Yes.
yeah, I feel like when you're refueling, it's like the body at first kind of starts rejecting this foreign substance. And what's the process of that been like for you? Kind of having the will to keep pushing through that.
So it's the same as within a ceremony. Sometimes we want to get up and run away, or in a therapy session, people want to get up and run out of the room because they don't want to face what the thing is. And sometimes we say, but wait a minute, I'm wanting to heal. I'm wanting to be healthy. I'm wanting to, you know, to live this better life. But we've got to remember that there's things that are still stored in our body of these different wounds, or, you know, maybe the body was like, but I like that sugar and I like that salt. And like, why can't I have that? I'm an adult. I can have dessert first, right? But if that dessert is causing inflammation, and that dessert could be anything, it doesn't have to be food, right? It can be ingesting a type of movie, type of music, right? So one of the things that that I found helpful when I had started was, gosh, oh, hang on, I got him right here. So Dr. Masaru Emoto. And it's like, so I've got like the little oracle deck that are like the water crystals, but he's the scientist that he put water underneath the microscope, and he had groups of people send like the word like love energy into that water. And then, yeah, so it's like, so for instance, I'm just going to show this one right here. So this is actually the water that was underneath the microscope, and it's happiness, right? So, and he had done an experiment where he let kids take 2 bowls of rice that got put in the refrigerator, and one is labeled like I love you and one is labeled I hate you. So every day the kids would tell the one rice, I love you, and then the other rice, I hate you. Well, the love rice never got moldy and gross. The hate rice got brown and dark and really nasty, right? So the power of our words, the power of our intention, we're more powerful beings than we realize. So for yourself, something that you can do is sending joy into your food, saying thank you to the people who grew it, that picked it, that transported it here, and thank you, this beautiful food, may it nourish my body and bring me to health and well-being, you know, may it bring me joy. And when I first started with that, oranges, for some reason I could feel like the energy just like tickling the center of my hands, you know. I was like, haha. But you can start playing with these, and like this little oracle deck is kind of fun because you can just, you know, different ways of looking at it. You can like look at the crystals and be like, oh, that one resonates with me today. And that's funny, I pulled the one that said resonance, right? Or you can just pull a card per day, and then in there just a deck of positive words. It's all just positive words. So for instance, this last one I'm going to share right here, self-love, right? So a lot of times it's so easy to forget the tools that we've been given when we're going through a hard time, when we're going through the physical health. Like I went through 10 years of horrific vomiting 2 to 10 times a day, down to 80 pounds, doctors saying I've got 6 months to live, right? I understand when the mind wants to do things and the body can't do things, and the frustration and the fear and the anger, and those are all the lower vibrations. And what we've got to do is like flip those heavier disharmonious words and bring in light into our body, bring in color into our body. You know, so maybe envisioning like a little egg that you hold on to, and then you pop that into the center of your chest, and whatever color you want it to be, let it expand and grow bigger and bigger and bigger around you until you have this whole beautiful sphere of light all the way around you. And that it's healing light, and it's healing your mind, your heart, and your body. And one last thing about healing, whatever healing each one of you guys do, according to my my guru from India, from my meditation training, it goes backwards 7 generations and it goes forward 7 generations. You ripple like a stone that gets dropped in the water. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful ending. I'm sorry we're running out of time, everyone, but I do want to make sure that we have a chance to close out on this. I will keep it open if in case we have more people, but a big thank you to Mozelle, an incredible human living in her purpose, knowing that ayahuasca is her journey. Thank you so much for living your purpose. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise in a plant medicine that I hope so many more people in this room try or are able to share with the rest of the world. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming, living in your purpose, understanding you have spiritual gifts or whatever those gifts might be, and supporting others like Mozelle, myself, and everyone else in this room who believes that they have a mission for this human experience, and that you're all here today. 2 weeks from now, we have Uncovering Spiritual Gifts with Sexual Energy with a sexual empowerment and sex educator, Jocelyn Silva. The following 2 weeks will be an astrocartographist. And then following weeks, I have a manifestation. Actually, it will be my sister, who's a master manifester. She's going to be coming on here. Yeah, but thank you once again, Mozelle. I mean, there was a reason why our lives crossed paths almost 4 years ago, and I'm just so happy that you came here today to share with the people that are uncovering their spiritual gifts as well, and being able to have that opportunity to share this space with you today. Thank you. Yay.
As an honor. Very grateful. Very grateful.
Great. Well, let me turn off this recording.